Well, they shook hands, they met for the first time, but what did they talk about? I'll give you a hint. They're both disagreeing about that very answer. Well, we'll discuss President Trump's meeting with Vladimir Putin. Then, yet another derailment at the NJT. It causes even more delays. Just one more reminder that works need to be done to fix the system here. That work, it starts this coming Monday. We'll take a look at what it's supposed to accomplish. Also, Bill de Blasio leaving New York City to join the G20 protest in Germany. I'm not making this up. It's got just about everybody asking one big question: why? Good evening, everybody, and welcome to RFL. I'm Richard French. All that, a little Broadway, and some more debate as well. We're going to start, though, with President Trump meeting with Russian President Vladimir Putin. Now, they discuss everything, apparently, from Russian meddling in the U.S. election to Syria to North Korea. But each camp had a bit of a different take on what was actually said. It's arguably the most highly anticipated meeting of this year's G20 summit, and Secretary of State Rex Tillerson gives us a peek inside the 2-hour and 16-minute closed-door meeting between President Donald Trump and Russian President Vladimir Putin.
There was a very clear positive chemistry between the two.
He says the president pushed Putin right away on Russian meddling into last year's U.S. presidential election.
The president pressed President Putin on more than one occasion regarding Russian involvement. President Putin denied such involvement.
The Russian foreign minister says President Trump accepted the denial, but a senior administration official says that's not the case. In any event, the White House says the two countries must now move forward.
Because it's not clear to me that we will ever come to some agreed upon resolution of that question between the two nations. So the question is, what do we do now?
During their meeting, Russia and the U.S. also agreed on a ceasefire in southwest Syria and discussed what to do about Ukraine. During meetings with other world leaders at the summit, President Trump said that he still wants Mexico to pay for the wall, and he discussed climate change with German Chancellor Angela Merkel. She called his view on the topic unfortunate. Meanwhile, outside, thousands of protesters flood the streets, many violently clashing with the authorities, and more than 20,000 police have been brought in from across Germany. All right, a lot to unpack this. Let's bring in our panel. Phil Reisman, radio talk show host in WVOX. Before that, an institution, a regional treasure.
It should be institutional.
Absolutely, a columnist with the Journal News. Dominic Carr, political journalist and author, and Andrew Whitman, our senior political correspondent. Andrew, I'll start with you. I found it really interesting, the reporting coming out of it. Everyone's stressing how long the two met in the room. And Tillerson, I think, acquitted himself very well in the radio remarks that he gave up, or the audio remarks he did later. He said they talked about everything under the sun, and he started the meeting talking about Russia's interference in our elections with the hacking. Lavrov then comes off and says, we didn't do it. Ask for evidence. The president basically, your president was basically with us. Who do you believe?
You know the old game show they made it out To Tell the Truth, where three people get up there and two of them are lying about their life? I honestly haven't the slightest. I mean, I have no idea who to believe from all of this. You know, Tillerson came into this administration with more credibility than most of the Trump cabinet members, but he seems to be a team player and was not going to say anything that was going to hurt Donald Trump or make Donald Trump look bad. I honestly have no idea who to believe. The one part of it that I'm confident of is that they did discuss Russian hacking. I don't know what the conversation was, and then they talked for like another hour and 45 minutes. You would think if you couldn't get past that first one, you wouldn't move on to the other stuff. You know, how do you get past that to anything else? They didn't seem to have any trouble with it.
And more than leaving it up to interpretation, Tillerson made it very clear that, hey, we're never going to agree on this one, so let's just move forward. Like it didn't happen.
Like they got a mulligan.
And to me, Dom, what I was shocked was people I respect today, David Gergens and the rest, saying, hey, listen, he sounded presidential. We had one day where things were kind of normal. It's progress. And then I just sat back and said, wait a minute. Our NSA, our CIA, our FBI, and every other buddy under the sun all agrees the Russian government hacked with the intention of disrupting our democracy and our elections, and we should be doing, cartwheels because he didn't throw a pie at somebody's face at the G20 meetings. To me, I'm just like, we're living in a parallel universe right now where Okay, they talked about Syria and North Korea. Important stuff. But you can't get past, the first act, which is you guys try to screw with our elections. Oh, never mind.
Well, Richard, I agree with everything that you just said, number one. Number two, I didn't expect for Trump to bring it up and for Putin to go, oh, yeah, we did it. I mean,
Got me.
Right. He wasn't going to, no matter what, he wasn't going to be realistic about it. I also feel that it's a good thing that they moved on to other topics, because what were they supposed to do? Just stay on that forever? But it is a world where I've seen the same comments you have, where folks are praising Trump because one day, one meeting, he appeared presidential.
It was like that. You remember what he did say to the Union?
And
it was
that's right.
No drooling.
That's right. And the day is not over yet. So let's see what he tweets tonight.
Well, it's late in Hamburg. Yeah.
I look at this as that is topic number one, and you don't go to topic number two until you talk about the meddling in our elections, because we know they're coming back next time. They're already stepping up. We hear there's reports that they're stepping up on their spying here in the U.S. as it is. It's not just that he brought it up. He should have brought it up with vehemence, it seems to me. This is a threat to us. This is a fundamental issue. We don't talk about anything else until we get this thing settled.
Well, that's why the terminology matters. We talk about election meddling. It's an attack. Russia attacked the United States. How do you sit there and have a 2-hour conversation with the guy who ordered an attack on the United States?
And by the way, even if it was only a one-time thing, that in and of itself should be issue one.
Oh, yeah.
But it's clear there's intentions for this to happen in 2018, 2020. This is not going to go away by itself. But what we still don't know is the sanctions that we put in place. Did they come up in the conversation? It's not like we got a readout of these things.
We know that Russia wants those 2 compounds back, and there have been talks. The Russian bank that met with Jared Kushner during the transition, they're on the sanctions list. So it's perfectly plausible to assume that those conversations or those topics did come up today, because we know the Russians want concessions on those.
But to me, the biggest thing as we sit here is, and I don't remember this recently, I mean, you go back maybe to the Nixon years, but Andrew said it. There is not a person with not even a healthy amount of cynicism, just non-naivete, who can say that they trust any of the players that came out to the microphones today.
Right.
Now think about that in years past. Reagan came out of a meeting here, or even Gorbachev. You believe what they say. Maybe you don't agree with it, but at least you have an idea. I don't know what happened for 2 hours and 16 minutes today. I have no faith that what happened in those 2 hours and 16 minutes. I've said it for the better part of a year now. The only thing that Donald Trump has done in his campaign and since being elected that arguably was not in his self-interest is his defense of the man whose hand we just showed you he shaked. It's completely against type. It's completely against every bit of MO that he's done through his entire professional life, let alone as a politician. No one has explained to me why he has gone to bat for somebody with all the abuses that he's done there, with what he's done against American interests, with what he's done in Crimea, all the things that we can go chapter and verse on. But he's got this guy's back. I still haven't heard a good rationale for that. And I think it'll be fascinating if we get any clarity about what did or didn't happen. I hear your point, Dominic. It can't. There's a lot of stuff going on. If there is a ceasefire that will be enforced right now in northwest Syria, that's terrific. If there's promises that there'll be no more encroachment into Crimea, everything else, that's fine, although there's no promises to that attached. But I can't just get back that fast that I can't trust them.
Two quick things that popped into my mind. One, the guy we're hoping that we can trust in the room was Rex Tillerson, the guy who has had individual meetings with London, with Putin, got a big medal from Vladimir Putin, so there's a connection there also that may cloud whether you view him as being completely objective and all this. Second of all, the ceasefire in southwest Syria, right on the Iraqi border, which is the area where
no action there,
where the U.S. is doing well in northern Iraq. So it's already the U.S. dominating that region. Right. It's hell and gone from Damascus. It's hell and gone from Aleppo. There's not a lot happening there. What a wonderful concession we got today from Vladimir Putin.
Yeah, and I just, it's one of those you wish, especially as a reporter, you were a fly on the wall.
Yeah.
I mean, God, how fascinating that would be. All right, I want to save time for a lot of other subjects we got coming up here, including stories much closer to home. Now, when we come back from break here, coming Monday, we've got real transit troubles. You've heard all the promises about how bad it can get. Well, we're going to find out here in less than 72 hours. Major track work begins at Penn Station. We'll tell you why something that Chris Christie did 7 years ago is making problems going from bad to worse. Stay with us.